Okay, today I will be live casting my lovely assistant Israel. We'll be making a latex mask. When we were in Vegas for the Halloween and Party Expo, we did stop by Tom Devlin's Monster Museum. He was kind enough to give me the DVD of his latex mask and a couple of other things. If you don't have it, it's really good. He does have a blood recipe in here also, so you might want to check this out. We've got Israel prepared somewhat. He has on his covering. We used a tablecloth from the dollar store, plastic one, and he has on a swim cap. From here, we're going to put oil on his face since he does have hair on his face. We did not have Vaseline, so we're hoping that this vitamin E is going to work. And I've got plaster on my hands. Been cutting bandages, plaster bandages. So what we're using is vitamin E oil from the dollar store. That's it. If you don't have Vaseline, we're hoping this works. Get it in hair good. What a nice, trusting assistant he is. And he is coating the hair on his face really good because we don't want anything to stick into it. And of course his eyebrows. I have plaster bandages already cut up, but this is what I'm using, and I'll put the link in the description. And it's pretty much just gypsum plaster, I'm guessing. But it's supposed to be safe. Hopefully it is. Okay, and if you've never worked with plaster before, the warmer the water, the faster the plaster is gonna set. So the water that I'm using, it's not hot water, but it is kind of warm. And I'm just dipping the bandages in it and folding them in half. And then I'll lay them right on it. And make sure you rub all the air and everything out of there. I'm not sure with all this hair how well that's going to work. You didn't get Vaseline in there good.
That was the end.
I'm going to start off by covering the nose, and I've already got some more plaster bandage cut up. I want this covered well enough so when it dries, the plaster doesn't leak out of it, because I'm going to pour plaster in there. Get all the air pockets out. Make sure it has a good seal on it. Okay, so that side's dry enough for me to flip it over and start with the back. And pretty much all I'm doing back here is just creating something where it won't overflow on me. I think I'm gonna put a little piece in there in the nose because I can see where it's kind of separated. So just in case. Okay, so I'm about to mix the Plaster of Paris, and I'm using regular cheap Home Depot DAP Plaster of Paris. I believe it was less than $20, and it was either a 20 or a 25 pound bag. I can't remember. But with plaster, you put the water in first and then add the plaster. Don't pour the water on the plaster. And you're looking for like peaks, P-E-A-K-S, peaks, so my country accent doesn't throw anybody off. So kind of when it stops settling, you'll start seeing like dry peaks. And I'm not just clumping it in there, I'm kind of moving my fingers some so it halfway falls decent. And then since I am doing it by hand, I'll be able to dig in there and feel if there are any lumps or anything. I got a wind blowing. So the water has kind of absorbed the plaster, and now I'm just kind of mixing it and squeezing the lumps out of it. And again, the warmer your water is, the faster this is going to set. And I can feel it kind of thickening up on me. And with plaster, from what I've learned, and Rob is better with plaster than I am, for the air bubbles, you can kind of shake it, kind of tap the side, and it'll bring the air bubbles to the top. If you spray like a light mist of alcohol across the top, it'll bust the bubbles for you. With this, I'm not real concerned about the bubbles at the top because we're not going to be using the back of the mold that I make. And of course, Israel's face wasn't flat, so the mold isn't going to sit flat. So I'm going to kind of lean it against the bowl. see all the air bubbles in there. So, and if you're using like plastic containers or whatever, I prefer to let it dry and then kind of squeeze the container and it just cracks loose. And you can see all the air bubbles rising to the top for me. So I'll let that sit for a while. Probably should use one with a little more weight in it. Let that sit for a while and dry. And again, don't wash your hands indoors. I'm going outside to the water hose to wash my hands. Okay, so with that, you kind of just bend it and it breaks up real easy and you can dump it. With this, as soon as I walked away, it hit me. I forgot to put a mold release in here. So this may not end well for us. But from here, I'm just gonna start breaking it off. And let me grab some scissors. Well, it's going better than I thought it would without a release in there. You can see all my bubbles in there. This isn't completely dry, and I decided to pull it off a bit early because I did forget the mold release. So it kind of worked out, thank goodness. And I'll let this sit out in the sun for a little while and dry. I do have a good mold of his face and his chin hair also. So I'll let this sit and dry for a while. Okay, so it's good and dry. So now I'll mark out where his eyes go. And some nose holes. And if you do end up using cotton, make sure it's kind like I have where you can unroll it. Don't get like the cotton balls that are actually balls. And I'm still using the same latex that I've used in a few videos. That's too much, but I'll leave it there and pour back what I don't need. Okay, so I'm finally getting around to painting the latex mask of Israel's face. The only thing I'm using, this is regular paint from the Dollar Tree. So at the time I got it, it only cost me $1. And I'm gonna paint the entire mask black for the black background of it. All right, now we'll let that dry and come back for the next layer. Okay, so now I'm gonna come back around and go over the mask with a bit of brown. It's actually raw umber is the color, and I'm using what I have. So I don't have any like generic acrylic brown. So this is what it'll be. Okay, I wasn't satisfied with how the umber brown paint is looking on top of the black. So I'm gonna come back and use raw sienna to try to lighten it up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to put a bit of blood in a few places.